one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I'll start down here on my right with introductions.
Dan Poisson, Ward 5.
Quinn Gormley, Ward 4.
Corin McWiggin, Ward 1.
Pam Albert at large.
Connie Brown, Superintendent.
Pat Gaudier, Ward 3.
Adam Platt, City Council Representative.
Connor Dufour, Student Representative.
Jillian Dumais, Student Representative.
Mark Conrad, Business Manager.
Sue Doris, Assistant Superintendent.
All right, thank you, everyone. I'm going to start with tonight's consent agenda, which includes the approval of the agenda, the approval of the April 10th, 2024 minutes, the superintendent recommends the following certification contract renewals. I'm not going to go through and list them all because there's a lot. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Seconded.
Warren, second. Adam, all those in favor? Motion passes. Moving on to public participation. Do I have anyone for public participation this evening? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to our presentation. Discussion and deliberation of our 2024-25 Auburn School Department operating budget. Dr. Brown.
Thank you very much. I would like to direct your attention back to the April 10 memo that was distributed at that meeting, and this is regarding the 24-25 budget update. In that meeting, I bring to your attention that we've had information regarding our health insurance premiums. You may recall that we were waiting for Maine Education Benefits Trust to set those rates, and they have. Mr. Conrad made an outstanding guess, best ever in your career, of 12%. We actually came in at 11.5, and that leaves us a positive difference of $33,000. So we can reduce that line by that amount of money. The second item is that, I believe it was April 1st, Councilor Platts, you might recall this meeting, where we had, I believe Chairperson Albert was there as well as several other board members, a meeting with the City Council. It was a budget workshop, and the Council asked us to get to a tax impact of 5%. And we went back, my team and I, and looked at what we might do to hit that goal. And I recommend that at this time, we take out of the proposed operating budget the new position which was the BCBA, the Behavior Certified Board Analyst. That would be in addition to the current BCBA that we have in the school department. And I felt that it was a better move to take out a new position as opposed to reduce the employment force by somebody we already have. It's a hard choice, but that would be my recommendation to the committee tonight. Taken together, that puts the school department's budget request at 4.8%, and the motion under new business would reflect that amount. We attended a council budget workshop on Monday, and the council seems supportive of both of those actions. And I think there's some additional debate coming from the council, but the discussion focused primarily on that number, and there seemed to be, without speaking for Councilor Platt, some comfort with that. So I'd be happy to entertain any questions if the committee has, or if Councilor Platt would like to add to that.
Yes, thank you, Superintendent. I would just add that, at the work, basically reiterating what the superintendent just said, at the workshop on Monday, every counselor was offered time to speak about the school budget, and there was silence. Nobody had any comments. Again, the council asked the superintendent to cut the budget below 5%, and she did to 4.8. I can't speak for individual counselors, but I can say that there has been no additional comment from the city council or request to go lower. So we can all presume what that may or may not mean, but there's been ample opportunity to comment from the city council, and there has been none. So meanwhile, we're working on cutting our budget down on the city side, but so far beyond the request of the superintendent, there have been no additional school requests.
Thank you, Councilor Platts. So at this point in time, we would open it, or ask the chair to open it up for school committee comment. This is the evening where you will take a position, and it now becomes your budget going forward.
So does anyone have any additional comments, questions on the budget, or questions for Dr. Brown?
It's not an addition, it's just support of your selecting to eliminate a new position as opposed to eliminating staff. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
I wanted to thank you for the budget. It's, again, very thorough, as it has been. for the past few years. I know it's been very tough to come to this, it's hard right now. Everybody's, counting all the pennies, and I appreciate the work that has gone into making this budget and thinking of this, the students really at the end of the day. And just thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping it would be lower, but I guess if this, the council's okay with that, then I guess I'll support it. But I was hoping it would be 3%, but yeah. Just,
If I might, Mr. Poisson, I think that the council recognizes that this coming year is an extraordinary one in many ways, and that I, without going too far out on a limb, might say that the year next might come in lower and possibly closer to the 3% that you are looking for. And I think Councilor Platts might agree that some of the councilors would like to look at that too.
Yeah, I would just say thank you for all your work. I know a lot of time and energy goes into this process, and I think the feedback from the council was positive. I think we've done you've done your due diligence in terms of meeting their requests, especially in a year when there's been a lot of kind of outlying extreme challenges, financially. So, thank you.
You are welcome. I have a phenomenal team. It's led by Mr. Conrad and the administrators, and I think the Auburn School Department is very lucky to enjoy the level of expertise that you currently have.
If I could just make one other comment, I would encourage anyone who's present or anyone who's watching this meeting also to think about this budget as well as the upcoming city council budget, city budget, in the context of a multi-year period. I think if you look at what the school department has seen in budgets in the past several years, obviously this increase at 4.8% to the tax levy it's not an insignificant number, but I think when you look at it compared to a multi-year period, makes a little bit more sense. It's also a reason that we need to be forward-looking and thinking about next year and the year after, and how to continue to have a lean budget and make sure that while we're supporting the education system and teachers, we're doing everything smart and with restraint. So.
Thank you. So that concludes our presentation. If anyone else has comments, they can either pose them now or under the new business. But it has been a very thorough process. And Member McQuiggan, I think you said it well, it's taken a long time. If you think back to the end of February, that's where we started. And so I think we've been open, we've been transparent, we've been very communicative, and I think it shows. So thank you. And that's, unless Mr. Conrad, you would like to add anything at this time about the budget? I think we're ready to move on.
Okay, thank you. School committee student representatives report.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. As of now, the iPads have been rolled out to 9th, 10th, and 11th grade. Currently, we are seeing some minor issues with the iPad. During setup, we were given support from the tech team, but after that, it seems the support has since dropped off and was left up to the teachers to figure out who most have left their iPads in their desks to collect dust. As some of you might know, EL offers 12 college credits free for each year per student. However, in order to be able to take these college classes, students have to have access to a laptop. I spoke with a teacher who is also a professor at CMCC, and they said that you're not allowed to use an iPad for the online college classes at that college. This has created an issue where students who don't have access to laptop cannot take advantage of the online college classes available, whereas students who have access to laptops are able to take advantage of these classes. I hope this is a problem that we can find a solution for, and a solution for fast.
Thank you, Connor. Is this something, I'm just curious, has anyone reached out to the tech team with these concerns?
Yes, with no reply currently.
Okay. So is this something that we can
Why don't you
address?
give me a call, and I will set up a meeting with Mr. Robinson, since this is information I haven't had until this evening. So I'd like an opportunity to think about it and then work with his team and with the students to see what we might be able to do.
Of course, thank you.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Moving on to the superintendent's report, Dr. Brown.
Thank you. I might invite Mr. Anir up to the microphone. So the first item under my report is a letter from the New England Association of Schools and Colleges, and it effectively removed the probationary status from Edward Little High School that has been going back for a long time, decades possibly. And the person that led the charge is sitting here in front of us, and I think that he and his team deserve nothing less than a standing ovation, so I'm going to lead that charge.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a big deal, and I'm really proud of all the hard work for many, many, many years by many people, and it's a task that we went into, we leaned into hard over the last 4 years. Since I took over 8 years ago, this has been a big, big deal, and it was a personal goal, and pretty proud that the whole school achieved that. So there's some folks that are even here who've participated in the evaluation process and know what a massive undertaking it is. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you very much. And on that note, you can go.
Dismissed.
So I put in your packet a letter, I think it was a letter, from the State Board of Education, maybe just a note. So on May 8th, the State Board of Education will hold its monthly business meeting at EL. And Fern, who is an old friend of mine, who is the chair of the board, has long wanted to come, and now the school is ready, and she knows I'm retiring, so she said, we'd like to come in May. So they will be here in May. Their meeting starts at 9 with a workshop. They'll have a school tour, and then their business meeting starts in the afternoon. So if you are around on May 8th and you'd like to come to EL and meet the State Board of Education, please feel free to drop by. I'm sure they'd love to have you. So that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. So my school committee chairperson's report, so I just have a few things to note. I would like to officially welcome Quinn Gormley to our committee, who is our newly elected Ward 4 rep from the April 9th election, so welcome. We're glad to have you. I'd also like to remind people that our vacant at-large position nomination papers are due by tomorrow at 4 p.m. with a minimum of 25 signatures. That special election is being held on July 9th. And then my only other note is I had the opportunity to travel to Italy and Greece with the EL group over April vacation. There were 32 students, 10 adults. There were 5 EL teachers, a spouse, and then 4 parents. And the kids were great. The trip was great. The students were attentive. They were respectful. They were punctual. They represented themselves and EL and Auburn very, very well, so I was very proud. And it was an excellent trip. We had an amazing tour guide, Italian tour guide, who did not have enough positive things to say about our kids, so that was great, and I would highly recommend anyone who's watching who has kids who will be at EL next year, if you're interested in going on, or your kid going on the April vacation trip. Next year, I believe they are going to France and Spain. And there's still space, there's still time to sign up. So a great opportunity for these kids. So definitely take advantage of it if you have kids at EL next year. So moving on to City Council update.
Yes, thank you. I guess in addition to my comments about the budget process, only update is, and I think this is a new position, but in the appointment committee meeting yesterday, we nominated 2 Edward Little High School students to be student representatives to the city council, which I believe has been an unfilled position for a long time, either unfilled or it didn't exist. But yesterday, anyway, we had 2 applications, one for Huda Aiden and one for Anaya Eggy. Anaya Eggy. And so they were both unanimously nominated to those positions. The city council will vote on those in the next meeting, but I think that's exciting to think that we'll have some student representatives at the city council. And those are a staggered term. I believe we just nominated a junior and a rising senior, and so at the expiration of each year, one position will be renominated. So it's an exciting update.
Great, thank you. I also forgot to mention that committee member Hart could not be here tonight. So committee reports. We have finance subcommittee meetings from April 10th linked. We have policy subcommittee agenda from the 23rd linked, which just met yesterday. We have the curriculum subcommittee minutes from the 10th linked. Anyone from any of those committees want to make any comments about your minutes?
With the curriculum, it's, hold on, I just want to pull it up. It was really nice to see the math program update because it's something that I was involved with actually just starting to at the end of my first term. And to see the way that it's growing, there is, some definite growing pains, but to have it explained to me in the way that they're teaching, what was it called? The building thinking classrooms, and not just learning things by rote, but learning how to say, how did we get here? How can we help each other get to this solution? And to see that, and to, I want to get into a math class at some point, so I can see that and really, because I know those aha moments when kids have them, that's why teachers are teachers, I assume. And I mean, when my kids have those aha moments, it just makes the sun shine on a cloudy day. And so I'm glad to see that that's happening, and that they're showing that to each other, and that while it's different for my, the way that I learned math, supporting my child and the students in this, and seeing, that the teachers and the administrators are behind it, it's great. And I think that, I asked my daughter after the meeting, I said, so talk to me about your math class. And she really likes that she has to, ask those questions that she didn't know that she could. And so it's really neat to see that's growing. And then started the science review process, but that's for another time.
Okay. Great, thank you. Okay, so moving on to old business. I'll entertain a motion to approve policy AUB GAB job descriptions for a second reading and approval. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
And Pat and Adam. And do we have any questions, comments, discussion on this policy? All right. Oh, Pat, do you have a question?
Well, last time it was, we didn't have much input. Of us couldn't remember what it was about. So I read it over, and it's basically a policy that says you will have a job description for every position in the system. So I just wanted to clarify to the public that we're all not losing our minds. We're just overstressed and overworked, so.
Thanks, Pat. So all those in favor of approving policy AUB GAB, motion carries. Moving on to new business, I'll entertain a motion to approve the 2024-25 Auburn School Department operating budget in the amount of $62,123,473. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Pat, do I have a second? Corin? Any comments, questions? All right, seeing none. All those in favor of approving the 2024 Auburn School Department operating budget? Motion passes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the proposed articles for reserve accounts: Edward Little High School Capital Reserve Fund, School Technology Equipment Reserve Fund, and Curriculum Development Reserve Fund. Do I have a motion? Corin, do I have a second?
Second.
Pat? Any comments, discussion?
I have a question.
Yep.
I assume this is related to the link in the agenda. So the $150,000, is that coming out of the excess fund balance? Or I'm sorry, 268 from the excess fund balance. Is that in the current budget as proposed, or is that additional monies from the fund balance?
That is not in the current or proposed budget because it's already been appropriated from prior periods. So this fell in line along with the former actions of the prior school committee to utilize excess fund balance funds for Edward Little and for the purchase of the iPads. So this was the third leg of that.
Yes, there's a memo attached to tonight's agenda with more information about this. Anyone else have questions, Dan?
I just had a question. Why wouldn't we put that in the budget, operating budget?
Mark, do you want to speak to that?
Well, the motion was to use excess fund balance funds. So it's my understanding that because they've already been appropriated from prior periods, you don't place that into the budget and reappropriate it again, if that makes sense. These are surplus funds from prior budget years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they've already been approved and appropriated by the voters, just not expended. So it's not necessary to reappropriate them again in another budget.
They were already approved in prior budgets.
Correct.
Yep.
The funds were appropriated in prior budgets. They were unexpended.
Right.
So the school committee reallocated them for this purpose, and essentially through the excess fund balance funds.
Yep. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve vote to approve the proposed articles for reserve accounts? All those in favor? Motion passes. All right, moving on to, I'll entertain a motion to revise the capital improvement plan budgets as recommended by the Finance Subcommittee. Do I have a motion? Coram, and do I have a second?
Second.
Adam? Any comments, discussion? Can we just have a reminder for the rest of the committee about the specifics for this?
Sure. So we have a balance of unexpended funds in our capital improvement plans from the FY21 capital bond and the FY22 capital bond. We've had a number of projects completed that have come in, and for the most part, under budget, in a few instances, a little bit over budget. You've had some items you've approved for expenditure that haven't been formally incorporated into the budget, such as the Harriman report. So this is just updating the budgets based on more recent expenditure histories or approval of items. The other item you recently approved was the rooftop mechanical unit for Walton, and you still have a remaining balance that's unallocated between the two bonds of over $305,000. So it just updates the budget based on current expenditures or approvals from this committee.
Okay. Is that clear for everyone? Okay. So all those in favor of revising the capital improvement plan budgets as recommended by the Finance Subcommittee? Motion carries. And lastly, I'll entertain a motion to approve entering into a contract with H.E. Callahan Construction in the amount of $237,000 for construction of Edward Little dugouts to be funded with excess fund balance funds. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Pat, do I have a second? Corin? And there is a link in the agenda for this. Mark, are you able to give just a quick summary of this?
Sure. So first I'll note that some months ago when the school committee approved utilizing excess fund balance funds, the two priorities for the Edward Little project were additional landscaping, which will cost about $85,000, and then this request for $237,000. They approved priorities up to $500,000. It's not necessary to spend additionally, but these were the two priorities. We went out to a public bid process using a simplified design for the dugouts to save money from Harriman. They'll be on a concrete slab with basically wood construction. There'll be 4 dugouts. There'll be one between the two fields, and there'll be one on each field with a storage room. H.E. Callahan was the only bidder, and this was a public bid, and this is not unusual these days with so many contractors being busy. I would note that H.E. Callahan does a lot of work for the city. They did the recent elevator and addition and restroom renovations to Franklin. We've had very good experience with them, so I think this is a good result for us.
Any other comments, questions?
Yeah, could I ask one question? When we approved the use of excess fund balance for this project, was there a number tied to it at the time, and was it above or below 237K?
No, and we didn't, we significantly revised the specifications, and we didn't ask the architect to recost it, because that would have been another cost for us. But what the Finance Committee recommended the school committee, and what the school committee agreed to, was to fund up to $500,000 for Edward Little needs. And the two priorities at the time were additional landscaping and the construction of the dugouts. And this is crucial now because they can now coordinate the installation of the dugouts with Dudley, our general contractor, so they don't damage the new fields in the process of trying to install the dugouts. So those were the two priorities that were expressed.
And it sounds like our current estimates for those two priorities is far less than 500,000.
Well, it'd be 85,000 and 237,000, so significantly less, which is a good thing.
Okay, great. Seeing no further discussion, do I have an approval to enter into a contract with H.E. Callahan Construction in the amount of $237,000 for construction of the Edward Little dugouts to be funded with the excess fund balance? All those in favor? Motion carries. All right, we have a list of all of our upcoming meetings on the agenda. Do I have any future agenda items and requests for information? All right, seeing none, I will adjourn at 6:28, and our next regular school committee meeting is May 15th. Thank you. Oh, sorry.
You can declare the meeting.
I'm a little tired. I'm a little.
I move to adjourn.
Okay. Adam moves to adjourn.
I second.
Second. Pat, all those in favor? All right. We are adjourned, and I'm going to bed.
You can declare the meeting adjourned. I'm done.